Right now, you're witnessing an event that no one could have predicted, something entirely unprecedented in modern royal history. Think about it for a second. When was the last time a former member of the British royal family, someone who once walked the regal halls of Buckingham Palace, who sat beside Queen Elizabeth II, who wore the ceremonial tiara and swore the solemn vows of royalty, was actually turned away at the threshold of an international border, treated like any ordinary traveller? It's hard to even imagine, isn't it? Yet, that's exactly what happened, and the ripples from this incident are far-reaching, stretching beyond celebrity gossip into the realm of high-stakes international diplomacy. Let it truly sink in. Meghan Markle being rejected at the Dubai border is not just another scandal to fill the gossip columns. This isn't simply a Hollywood headline. It's a geopolitical statement, a clear and unmistakable message from one of the richest, most powerful regions on the planet, and it signals that even the prestige of a former Duchess of Sussex carries limits when it comes to reputation and influence. And if you're thinking that this is the end of the story, you haven't been paying attention. What follows is a cascade of events that paints a portrait of escalating crises, international scrutiny, and personal unravelling. The Dubai disaster. What really went down? Let's start there. Dubai, the city of gold, the playground for billionaires, a metropolis of architectural marvels and extravagant luxury. It is a city where the elite gather to flaunt wealth, where celebrities manufacture Instagram-perfect lives, and where privacy is the ultimate commodity. For Meghan, Dubai was meant to be a sanctuary, a glittering escape from relentless media attention and mounting controversies. It was supposed to represent safety, opulence, and discretion, a place to breathe without the constant glare of the public eye. But here's the reality about Dubai. Entry isn't a given, no matter how famous you are, especially if your reputation precedes you with a trail of scandal, accusations, and controversy. Multiple sources close to the situation say Meghan arrived expecting smooth passage, fully confident that her celebrity status and former royal title would guarantee entry. After all, she is Meghan Markle Wright, former Duchess of Sussex, Netflix collaborator, and confidant to Oprah Winfrey. Her team assumed the doors of Dubai would open with little resistance. Instead, she was met with a figurative and literal red light. Border officials reportedly detained her for questioning. To be clear, she wasn't arrested, but she was held, questioned, and scrutinized for hours, described by insiders as tense, humiliating, and exhausting. After what must have felt like an eternity, she was told, in polite but firm terms, to turn around and leave. Imagine the shock. The meticulous plan she had orchestrated, crumbling in the public eye in the most dramatic way possible. Why did Dubai say no? That's where the story gets truly jaw-dropping. Unlike Western countries, Dubai doesn't operate purely on formal rules or paperwork. They operate on reputation, pattern recognition, and calculated risk. Your name, your history, and your associations are heavily weighed. The Emirati government is protective of its image. They've built a city designed to attract global elites, but they won't allow someone with a messy track record to walk in and potentially spark international controversy. So, what exactly did officials see in Meghan's dossier? The first glaring issue, her public fallout with the British royal family. Dubai maintains deep ties with the UK, economic, diplomatic, and strategic. Hosting someone openly at odds with the monarchy would be a political misstep, a signal that could jeopardize their alliances. But it goes beyond optics. The problem was pattern recognition. Everywhere Meghan goes, trouble seems to follow. Staff members have accused her of bullying, business ventures and partnerships quietly collapse, lawsuits appear, and throughout it all, she presents herself as the victim of circumstances she didn't create. Here's the hard truth. When you are the common denominator in conflict after conflict, people start asking the question, are you the victim or are you the problem? Then came the Saudi Arabia pivot. Door number 2 slammed shut almost immediately. Following Dubai, Meghan's team scrambled to engage with high-ranking Saudi royals, attempting what they believed would be a strategic backup plan. But this wasn't a standard visa application. Weeks of careful behind-the-scenes negotiation and diplomacy went into trying to secure not just entry, but an assurance of acceptance, a safe haven shielded by one of the most powerful royal families in the world. But Saudi Arabia reportedly rejected her as well. The refusal wasn't casual, it was swift, decisive, and public in effect, if not in ceremony. Sources indicate the reason cited was an unacceptable reputational risk, a diplomatic way of saying, we don't want your problems becoming our problems. One anonymous insider allegedly said it plainly, we respect royalty. We don't host people who disrespect theirs. Cold, precise, and cutting. The equivalent of a royal death knell. Officials reviewed every aspect of Meghan's public life. They saw the explosive Oprah interview with allegations of racism inside the royal family, allegations that remain unproven and widely contested. They examined the Netflix docuseries, criticized as a multi-million-dollar act of score settling. They considered ongoing legal battles, leaked staff complaints, and former employees refusing to retract bullying claims. In the world of international diplomacy, patterns outweigh PR campaigns, and Meghan's pattern sent a very clear signal. There's also the possibility of British intelligence involvement. Analysts in London have suggested that a quiet heads-up was reportedly sent to Gulf states regarding Meghan and Harry's movements, not as a formal request, but a cautionary note between allied nations. Allegedly, Prince William himself signed off on it. His private assessment? Meghan is a master manipulator, someone who will do anything to stay relevant, whose strategy centers on shifting blame and keeping herself at the center of attention at any cost. Consider her trajectory since leaving the royal family. Tell-all interviews designed to provoke headlines, Hollywood friendships, podcasts that barely lasted a season, lifestyle ventures that fizzled, ongoing courtroom battles. The constant noise surrounding her life is relentless, and William, who will one day be king, has had enough. When Saudi officials reviewed the dossier, the verdict was unmistakable. No, not rumours, not gossip, just the cold, undeniable reality of her past actions. Meghan's response was reportedly explosive, white-hot fury, bordering on disbelief. Saudi Arabia was supposed to be the ultimate sanctuary, wealth, privacy, protection from media scrutiny. Instead, she faced silence, rejection, denied requests, ignored negotiations. Her team intensified media outreach, attempting to spin the narrative, but the industry could smell vulnerability. Once fervent outlets that had championed her feminist image backed away. Her credibility, once considered unassailable, was hemorrhaging fast. Back home in California, the situation was equally dire. The sprawling Montecito mansion, a symbol of freedom and independence, was reportedly lost. Financial strain, mortgage complications, and downsizing forced Meghan and Harry into a temporary residence. From unlimited access to royal funds to tight budgets, the couple faced reality in stark relief. And Harry? That's where the real heartbreak begins. Sources say he's retreating, attempting to reconnect with the royal family, but every bridge appears burned. Friends describe him as frustrated and tired, quietly acknowledging that he misses the stability, structure, purpose, and sense of duty that came with being a working royal. Yet there's no going back. With every public rejection, every new controversy, the path to royal life becomes increasingly impossible. And according to insiders, Harry may be finally realizing the catastrophic nature of his choices, that he traded his birthright, his family, his country. For what? Right now, you need to understand that Meghan Markle's saga isn't just about celebrity missteps. It's a cautionary tale about influence, reputation, and the harsh consequences when power is mismanaged. Exactly. A failed podcast, a Netflix deal that generated more awkward moments than meaningful content. But Meghan isn't looking back. She can't afford to. Her entire identity has become entangled in this narrative of victimhood. To admit that her ventures have failed would be to concede that the critics, the doubters, and even former allies were right. Pride, image, and the carefully constructed persona she has projected to the world forbid that acknowledgement. So, she continues to push forward, even as the ground beneath her feet gives way, even as the foundation of her international influence begins to crumble. The reality of her reputation crisis is severe. When your name becomes a warning rather than a signal of prestige, the implications are profound. Here's the crucial truth. In regions like Dubai and Saudi Arabia, reputation is more than social currency. It is the key that unlocks doors or slams them shut. Every association matters, every historical action follows you, and once you are flagged as a reputational risk, that label is extraordinarily difficult to erase. According to multiple diplomatic sources, Meghan's name is now registered in internal databases across several Gulf states, not as a criminal, not officially in the legal sense, but flagged for extreme caution. She is known as a potential disruptor, someone whose presence might invite scandal, and ironically, that is exactly how she has described the world's treatment of her for years. For years, Meghan has built her brand around challenging institutions, exposing systems, and confronting personal and organizational adversaries. She has positioned herself as someone who speaks truth to power, a beacon for those disenfranchised. But if you study the trajectory closely, the pattern is clear. The drama invariably circles back to her. The conflicts she highlights are never isolated. She is always the common denominator. And in regions where unity, controlled messaging, and discreet diplomacy are paramount, being unpredictable is dangerous. Then there are the persistent bullying allegations. Meghan has consistently denied them. Her lawyers have released strongly worded rebuttals, and her PR team has worked tirelessly to discredit former staffers. Yet, the problem remains. None of the accusers have retracted their stories. Not in the UK, not in America. Some are even reportedly considering going public again. Why risk the backlash? Because they believe in the truth of their accounts. Because they feel compelled to share evidence that, according to insiders, was corroborated by multiple departments at Buckingham Palace. Staffers with no connection to one another reportedly recounted strikingly similar experiences, indicating a recurring pattern of behaviour that followed Meghan across continents and roles. This leads to the crux of the PR dilemma, the transition from sympathy to suspicion. For years, Meghan's PR machinery was remarkably effective. She presented herself as a victim of institutional racism, a mother denied help, an advocate for mental health. The Oprah interview created massive waves of empathy, and the Netflix series kept the story alive. But sympathy has limits. Eventually, people start connecting dots, noticing patterns, and questioning motives. Is Meghan truly a victim? Or has she weaponized victimhood to deflect accountability? Are the criticisms she faces legitimate, or are they mere attacks from envious outsiders? More and more, journalists, commentators, and even former allies are asking these exact questions. The cracks in her public persona have coincided with the collapse of her international options. As Dubai and Saudi Arabia slammed their doors, the reality became clear. Meghan's aspirations for prestige, relevance, and influence were under siege. Her financial situation is reportedly deteriorating, her media strategies are faltering, and her international options are shrinking. Desperation is creeping in. Sources indicate that her team is exploring smaller jurisdictions with more lenient media laws, hoping to find places where she could vanish, reinvent herself, or rebuild a semblance of control. But these countries offer only a shadow of what she truly desires. Because it was never just about safety or privacy. If that had been the goal, she could have chosen a quiet life years ago, away from cameras, paparazzi, and public scrutiny. What she truly wants is status, influence, validation. She wants to be celebrated, seen, and acknowledged at every exclusive event among the elite of society. Dubai and Saudi Arabia weren't merely options, they were symbols, proof that she retained value and power. Their rejections weren't bureaucratic inconveniences. They were symbolic, signaling that the world no longer unconditionally recognizes her prestige. Even her attempts to call on past allies and collaborators have faltered. According to sources, she has reached out to former friends and colleagues, trying to mend bridges and secure support. Yet many of these calls went unanswered. People who once worked closely with her are now hesitant, wary of association with someone whose orbit has become increasingly radioactive. It's a harsh reality. Her goodwill account is overdrawn. Those who could have offered help are now cautious observers, unwilling to risk entanglement in the next public fallout. Hollywood, too, has delivered a verdict. Where Meghan once expected a triumphant return, she instead faces skepticism. Netflix projects are criticized, the podcast was cancelled, book deals have stalled, and fashion collaborations are falling through. Even A-list celebrities are keeping their distance. In the entertainment industry, controversy is currency only if it translates into profit. If the drama generates no returns, your value diminishes, and Meghan is now in that position. Producers, casting directors, and fashion houses alike are wary, questioning, if we engage with Meghan, will we be next? Will we be caught in the storm of lawsuits, leaks, and public attacks? This is the trust crisis she faces, in Hollywood, in business, and in elite social circles. The fundamental lesson of her Dubai and Saudi Arabia rejections goes beyond personal embarrassment. It's about respect, loyalty, and the sanctity of institutions. The royal families of the Middle East watched closely how Meghan treated the British royal family. They saw her leverage her title while simultaneously undermining the very institution that gave her platform, voice, and opportunity. In their eyes, that is betrayal, not strength. A code exists across royal houses worldwide. You may leave, you may forge your own path, but you do not burn the house down on your way out. Public relations battles and personal vendettas are not admired. They are warnings. And then there's the tragedy of familial bonds. The deterioration of the relationship between William and Harry is particularly heartbreaking. Two brothers, once inseparable, forged through shared trauma and loss, are now reportedly on opposite sides of an unbridgeable divide. William allegedly sees Meghan as a manipulator who reshaped his brother into someone willing to forsake family confidences for personal gain and media exposure. Harry's choices, influenced in part by Meghan, have driven a wedge that may never heal, and the personal cost is staggering. Loyalty fractured, trust lost, and family relationships irreparably damaged. All for what? For Netflix deals, media attention, and fleeting cultural influence. For fleeting prestige that is now evaporating. This is a story that continues to unfold, and the lesson is clear. Actions have consequences. In the global arena, whether in Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Hollywood, or Buckingham Palace, credibility, loyalty, and reputation matter. You cannot build influence on a foundation of controversy alone. And for Meghan Markle, these international rejections are more than setbacks. They are unmistakable messages about the long-term cost of prioritizing personal ambition over respect, loyalty, and sustained trust. Right now, you need to understand something fundamental. These are not isolated incidents, random coincidences, or minor setbacks. Dubai did not reject Meghan Markle because of a single bad day, or because someone at a border office was having an off moment. Saudi Arabia did not turn her away due to a missing form, a minor paperwork error, or an administrative misstep. No, these were deliberate, methodical, and highly considered decisions, made at the very highest levels by people with global experience in diplomacy, protocol, and reputation management. Every angle was examined, every risk assessed, and the verdict was as clear as it was decisive. Meghan Markle is not worth the trouble. Let's break that down. The officials in both Dubai and Saudi Arabia looked at Meghan Markle in full: the public persona, the private behaviour, the controversies, the lawsuits, the leaked allegations, the constant headlines, and the patterns of conflicts she has left in her wake. They evaluated the risks of harboring someone who has made a career to some degree out of confrontation, exposure, and public grievances. They considered the diplomatic complications, the possibility of getting entangled in her ongoing disputes with institutions, former staffers, and media outlets. They analysed the chance that their own organisations, reputations, or governments could become the next target of her public scrutiny. Every single factor weighed heavily, and the scale tipped decisively against her. These countries are not in the habit of inviting trouble, nor are they willing to gamble their own reputations or international relationships for the sake of accommodating someone whose trajectory is so visibly unstable. In diplomatic and royal circles, precedent matters, reputation matters, pattern matters. Meghan Markle presented a pattern, a repeated behaviour, a series of public and private controversies that created undeniable risk. And when risk outweighs reward, decisions are clear. She was turned away. This decision is not just a private internal matter, it is echoing through global diplomatic circles. Other governments are taking careful notice. The message is spreading fast. Meghan Markle is now persona non grata. This is not a label applied lightly, nor is it easily erased. When reputation catches up with reality, the consequences are real, tangible, and often irreversible. The world is watching, and international observers are absorbing the lesson. Prestige, influence, and title cannot protect you when your actions undermine the very systems that gave you those privileges in the first place. So, what does the future look like for Meghan? Where does this leave her? Frankly, the trajectory is stark and clear. Her international options are rapidly diminishing. Countries that might have once welcomed her, places she imagined as safe havens, refuges of wealth, privacy, and influence, are now closed off. Her financial situation is under pressure. The media ventures she has pursued are faltering. Netflix projects have failed to resonate or capture audiences. Podcasts have been cancelled after short runs. Book deals have stalled. Fashion collaborations have crumbled. Even her previously loyal Hollywood contacts, who might have supported her return, are distancing themselves. The charm offensive that once seemed effective has lost its power. The empowerment narrative, once persuasive, is now widely scrutinized and increasingly questioned. Sympathy has a shelf life. When headlines are dominated by repeated controversies, lawsuits, accusations, and failed ventures, even loyal supporters begin to ask the hard questions. Is she genuinely advocating for change, or is she leveraging victimhood and drama to maintain relevance? The signs are unmistakable. The public, journalists, and former allies are increasingly skeptical. The most likely scenario now is a continuation of what has already begun. A slow, gradual decline punctuated by occasional sparks of drama, each generating fewer headlines than the last. Meghan Markle's journey from Duchess to documentary star to influencer to Hollywood content creator, and now perhaps to a cautionary tale, is unfolding in plain sight. From a potential historic figure capable of influencing the monarchy and culture on a global scale, she risks becoming a footnote in royal history, a case study in the consequences of repeated missteps and public confrontations. Could it have been different? This question haunts anyone watching her story. Meghan Markle entered the royal family with immense promise. She was intelligent, accomplished, articulate, and symbolically important, bringing diversity and international attention to an institution that desperately needed it. Had she exercised patience, followed the counsel of advisors, nurtured relationships instead of burning them, and worked within the system to enact reform, her legacy might have been transformative. She could have been a bridge between tradition and modernity, an agent of meaningful change. Instead, Meghan chose confrontation over collaboration, drama over diplomacy, headlines over humility. She leveraged the very platform that welcomed her while publicly attacking the institution that elevated her. Doors that could have opened to long-term influence, lasting partnerships, and international recognition were instead slammed shut. Friends, allies, and professional networks have distanced themselves. Calls go unanswered. Emails are ignored. Relationships that might have offered stability and support in times of need have vanished. The cost of these choices is now fully visible: isolation, diminishing influence, and a reputation that precedes her, often negatively. The lesson is clear: you cannot build a sustainable future on resentment, revenge, or constant victimhood. You cannot maintain trust while repeatedly undermining those around you. You cannot demand respect if you show none in return. And now, Meghan Markle's world, once full of prestige, wealth, and opportunities, is closing in. So, is there a way back? Could she rehabilitate her image, rebuild her influence, regain trust, or secure safe havens internationally? Perhaps, theoretically, but it would require something we have not seen yet: genuine accountability, true self-reflection, and an honest acknowledgement of the role she has played in creating her current situation. These are not easy steps, nor are they guaranteed to succeed even if attempted. The damage is extensive, the skepticism is widespread, and the world is watching closely. Now, the broader implications are equally sobering. Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and other international observers are sending a message that extends beyond Meghan herself. Reputation, loyalty, and institutional respect are non-negotiable in elite and diplomatic circles. Actions have consequences. Public betrayal of the institutions that once supported you is noticed globally, and the consequences can be swift and decisive. Meghan Markle has learned this lesson firsthand in ways that are public, irreversible, and globally recognized. Her story is a cautionary tale. The combination of ambition, recklessness, and a disregard for tradition and loyalty can lead to isolation on the international stage, from former royalty to an embattled public figure, from luxury residences to financial pressure, from Hollywood optimism to professional setbacks. The trajectory is stark. The world sees a collapse that is not orchestrated by others, but by choices, actions, and repeated patterns of behavior. So, what do you think? Is Meghan Markle's international isolation deserved, or is she truly a victim of circumstance? Will more countries follow in Dubai and Saudi Arabia's footsteps? Could she ever truly recover? Or is this the beginning of a permanent exile from the spheres of power and influence she once navigated with relative ease? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what you think about this unprecedented saga. And if you found this breakdown valuable, insightful, or eye-opening, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates, because this story is far from over. Welcome to the new reality. Meghan Markle. The world has said no.